All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Gridiron Zeros podcast.
And lots of money.
It is.
You always do that.
Always forget how long that drop is. It's episode 77. Bit of a shorter one this week. We got.
We've got the pass or play game. It's a little
Brainstorm.
segment we came up with. We're also going to discuss the new alternate throwback uniforms for some teams, alternate looks, lots of exciting reveals in the last week and a half, 2 weeks to dive into. And what else do we got?
Lions training camp news, touching on a couple of the major headlines, including Denzel Mims, CJ Gardner-Johnson. So we touch on a couple of things there. The pass or play segment, I just want to kind of give the listeners a little bit of a preview. We kind of just talk about the guys that are currently or possibly holding out in training camp or have some contract negotiations coming up, and whether or not we would re-sign them as GMs. Just two boobs talking about money. So let's go ahead. Let's get into it.
All right, Lucas. As training camp is off and running, preseason is imminent. We're starting to have some players not show up to camp, not report to camp for various contract reasons. Guys who are wanting to get paid long-term deals are sending messages to their teams by not reporting. I thought it would be a fun exercise / game for me to rattle off a couple guys for you. I got 10 names here. Some of them I think your answers will be quicker than others, but these are guys who all are needing new deals. Some of them are doing the holdout thing, some of them aren't. I feel like this whole thing is kind of a pretty common business practice with teams now. I don't think it's that weird for guys to do this, and there's not like a bunch of it's not like the Darrelle Revis days where everyone would be like really pissed off that he was skipping camp anymore. So
Yeah.
But here's the first name, Budda Baker, Cardinals. A little note I have here. Reportedly, he wants to be the highest paid safety in the league or traded, and he put in a request for that this offseason in the beginning of the year.
Wow.
So Budda Baker. And I think with the Cardinals, it's interesting because they are definitely in a spot where they
could do it.
Yeah, they're paying Kyler, but are they in a spot to be doling out an enormous contract to a safety who's really good? I mean, he's probably top 3 in the league, right? I mean, he's pretty darn good. So, are they in a spot in their, I don't want to say rebuild, but just the spot that the team's in right now? Are they in a spot to be able to pay Budda Baker, or should they?
So Derwin James is the highest paid safety in the NFL right now. He is currently making a sizable $19 million a year. And I do think Budda Baker's better than what's his face?
Derwin James.
Derwin James.
Well, Derwin James misses half of every year.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Why he is the highest paid safety in the NFL, I will never know. But what is their team cap space? 25? Golly. That is not a lot.
Yeah, they're in a precarious spot right now, but I feel like he's one of the guys you got to make work.
Take 80% of that up.
For right now. I mean, I'm
right
sure going into next year, I'm sure there will be more cap, but they probably took a hit from cutting Hopkins and
JJ Watt.
Right.
Well, I don't think Watt's contract was that big, but fuck, man. I guess so. I think you do sign him and try to give him like a $20 million a year contract for, I don't know, 4 years.
I'm
half guaranteed.
I know I'm asking you the players here, but I'm going to give my answer for this one. I'm going to say don't.
You're going to trade him?
I'm going to trade him because you're in no spot right now to be competing, and he's kind of in his prime window. I don't think they're anywhere close to where they need to be to go win a Super Bowl, even a year from now, too. I just don't.
What do you think you get for him?
I think because his deal is expiring, I don't think you're going to get a ton for him, but you might get a couple picks for him. Maybe A1 from somebody. Like that's even kind of steep. I feel like I don't know, but
I'm looking at it
that's
from
a ceiling for me.
Where it's like you are already like not giving the fans a whole lot to root for. You have the cap space. You're gonna take 2 or 3 years to rebuild. Keep one of your cornerstone players. Make them happy. Give them the contract.
I did kind of peep through like comment sections on Cardinals social media and stuff just to kind of get a temperature on it. They all want him, obviously, and I feel like that makes sense. But
Plus, it's not like you're going to be in a position to win next year, maybe the year after, depending on how well you draft. And I feel like they got a ton of picks this past draft. So I would sign him. I mean, you're signing a good player. Yeah, it's a heavy contract, but by the time you're ready to start winning, you can probably unload it, even if you really put it heavy in the front of the contract.
All right, so Lucas wants to pay Budda Baker. Next player on the list here, I know you'll be interested in this one, Patrick Queen for the Ravens. Obviously, they just re-signed Roquan Smith.
Let him walk.
Go yourself.
That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing else?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I guess you could try to do a sign and trade, but
you don't think keeping the two of them together as a tandem is like a big priority? I mean, they spent a first-round pick on him a couple years ago. He's been pretty good.
He has been. He's been pretty good, but I mean, you just paid Roquan, and honestly, Roquan and him are pretty much the same type of linebacker. I would rather pair Roquan up with somebody who is like opposite ways of playing, so that you can kind of get busted both worlds. I know that's a lot to ask for, but yeah, I mean, you got the better version of Patrick Queen already with Roquan.
Right.
You just signed him to a huge-ass contract. Patrick Queen probably wants, if not the same, a little less. And you can't be given that much to two off-ball linebackers.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it, too. Like, I would also let him walk. I just don't think you shouldn't be investing that much of your cap space into linebackers alone when you have, I don't want,
Arguably
maybe top
best.
5. Yeah, okay.
Arguably the best. I don't know. Can we name like 4 other linebackers that are better than him?
Not off the top of my head.
No, me neither.
All right, so pass on Patrick Queen. We're aligned there. Next guy, I think we'll also be aligned on this one.
Trade him if you can. Like to trade.
That'd be great.
And, get like a 6th or a 7th out of him.
Trade him for Anzalone.
Yeah.
And a bag of peanuts.
Yeah.
Next guy on here, Brian Burns, Panthers.
I think you gotta sign him.
I agree. I think he is like a franchise cornerstone. I think
Yeah.
on that defense, he's probably your best player, and I think on most rosters in the league, he could be your best player on defense.
Yeah.
So he's a premier pass rusher, still really young. That defense would not be the same without him, so I'm thinking he needs to be paid. I don't know if this is the last year of his deal or not, but it's definitely starting to get to that area to where they need to re-sign him. I don't think he's a camp holdout, though. I don't think he's on that list.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you make him the highest paid defensive end. I mean, you got guys up here. I think he's producing like a Max Crosby.
Well, I don't think he. Aaron Donald is kind of he's the number one paid.
Honestly, I wouldn't even pay him Myles Garrett. I guess I would pay him around Myles Garrett. 25.
That's the thing. It's like all these guys want to be the highest paid.
Yeah, I mean, like
So-
at this point, if you want to keep on to a good player, then you have to pay him top dollar.
And I think Brian Burns is. I think it's a good time for them to do a deal with him because they've got Bryce Young on a rookie deal.
Yeah.
They do have some upcoming contracts they need to figure out. But on the offensive side of the ball, they don't have anyone who's making like a ton of money, so they can really invest in a core player like him. This is a good time for it, I feel like. This next one, I mean, this is obvious, but I just threw it on here. Joe Burrow. Now, obviously,
I thought he just signed a
no,
contract.
Herbert did.
Oh.
Yeah, Herbert got the biggest contract in the league, which is astonishing for someone who's never won a playoff game, even though he's obviously special. But Joe Burrow, I guess the question with him is, like, I think you re-sign him, obviously, because he's Joe Burrow, and your team would be...
him anything he wants.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, is, like, what would you pay him as the highest paid player in the league? Like,
I'd make him the highest paid player of any sport ever. That's how confident I am in Joe Burrow. I would lock him down for 10 years minimum.
Recency bias here, but even with slight injury history, like
even with that,
he missed obviously a good chunk of his rookie year, and now he's got his camp injury, which they just put a notification out before we started recording that he's going to miss several weeks, air quotes, which that isn't a super, concrete timetable, but
probably half season, if not earlier. I feel like it's probably fair to say with that, right?
Yeah, I feel like if it was any longer than that, they would note like 6 to 8 weeks or whatever, which they're kind of already doing with Jalen Ramsey, who also got hurt during camp. So I think they're probably the two most notable injuries.
Here's why, even with like this little bit of injury history with Burrow, I would still be fully confident giving him 10 years, $600 million deal or something like that. He came off that rookie injury and put up like back-to-back MVP caliber seasons for the Bengals.
Yeah, he came back better.
Yeah, and so I feel like, right now we're so advanced in medical technology that, Joe Burrow can blow out his ACL, but even though, he's like, what, 25?
Around there, 25, 26. He's around there.
He rehabs and he's right back to it. It doesn't affect him like he used to with other guys.
And number one, their franchise is completely irrelevant without him.
Oh,
for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And also, if you're not going to pay him that contract, someone else will.
100% will gladly pay him that money.
All right, so we're aligned on Burrow as well. Next guy, Josh Jacobs. I tried to keep the running backs kind of to a minimum on here because there's a big thing going on with them, but it's a brutal market for them right now.
It's such a... the average running back salary is less than a kicker's?
That's astonishing.
Yeah, it's like 1.16, and I think an average kicker's right now is like 2.2.
Well, I guess when you have a position where you've got 4 guys splitting the ball, and they're all like 3 of them are kind of no-namers for the most part.
Yeah.
Or like journeyman guys. And this position just ages out so fast.
And I feel like the most brutal aspect is that you really are only as good as the guys that are playing in front of you, right? Like
O-line, you mean?
Yeah. Exactly. I don't think Jamal Williams will have anywhere near the production that he had last year in New Orleans. Because he
had a record-setting year last year.
Yeah, he led the league in rushing touchdowns. I don't think he'll have anywhere near that type of year again.
Well, here's the difference of Josh Jacobs and some of your other guys that are on the market. Like, I feel like the guys like that are really notable right now, like Saquon and him and some like they're higher end. They're higher end players who they're not just like a running back that is just kind of average for them. Like Josh Jacobs was the leader in rushing last year. He's a pivotal focal point to that offense, even though McDaniels is a Patriot way guy who likes to split the carries up between multiple guys. Josh Jacobs was so good last year that they kind of had to morph him into more of the game plan, and he's right now the top 3 rusher in the league, and that's a huge difference maker. So like, to me, I think the conversation is a little different when you have like those guys. Like I would put him, Saquon, and like McCaffrey, like probably in that top 3. I think with them it's different. I think anyone below them, you can make an argument for it, but I don't know. He's interesting. I think I would pay him, and I know we touched on it, like I think our last show, where I think the running back market kind of just needs to shift to like shorter term deals for the money they want, and maybe make it so that there's ways for them to get out of deals, or like not guaranteeing everything that they would have for the term, just structuring the contract that way, so they're getting their bag in a limited window. They're still being paid.
Mm-hmm.
They're happy. It's just not for 6 years, not for 5 years like Zeke had a few years ago, and that was just a disastrous contract for the Cowboys.
Well, in 2023, their cap space. Okay, so they got a shit ton next year.
Raiders do.
Yeah, their cap space this year is currently sitting at $5 million.
And they're not paying Jimmy G a bunch. I mean,
12 or 11.2. They're paying him 22.5 this year.
that's peanuts compared to some of the other guys.
that's Jimmy G though. That's ludicrous money.
I mean, Daniel Jones is making what, high 30s, right?
I would pay Daniel Jones high 30s. Jimmy G, at this point, bro, you're paying for an injury.
You're paying for a guaranteed derailed season.
Like, I don't know. I right now the highest paid running back is Christian McCaffrey, right? 16 mil a season,
which is astonishing considering he can't stay healthy for the most part either.
Yeah.
Besides last year,
it's Kamara at 15, Derrick Henry at third with 12.5, Nick Chubb at 12.2.
I should have factored Nick Chubb into my top 3. He's definitely up there.
Yeah, I guess if. I mean, Saquon did a 1-year, $11 million deal. If you can get Josh Jacobs to do that, I would do that. But
he's one of the guys who is seeking a long-term deal.
I would give it to him. I'd let him walk at that point.
Go yourself.
There's too much showing that it's not worth it to pay him right now. There's too much saying like invest in the offensive line early, draft a running back in the 4th round. If he knows what to do, if he knows how to play football, and he has a really good offensive line in front of him, he'll be good.
I feel like he's I thought Saquon was going to be the first one, but now that he's kind of signed his 1-year holdover deal, I feel like Josh Jacobs is the first major domino to fall in this whole running back market saturation. I mean, Eckler has a deal.
I thought he was holding out.
No, he has a deal. It might be expiring. It might be or it might be undervalued comparatively to his production at this point. But I'm pretty sure he's signed up. So I don't know. He's a pretty vocal dude. But yeah, I don't know.
They just had that. They just had that running backs meeting that literally did nothing.
Yeah.
They all
the Zoom call.
Zoom call. He got. So he was like, I think he was holding out. He was like, I'm not going to attend minicamp or something. And they reworked his contract to add on 1.75 in reachable incentives. God,
it's peanuts.
That's so disrespectful.
Well, I guess, I had him a couple names lower on this list, but I guess while we're just on the running back conversation, I do have one more running back on here.
Go ahead.
Tony Pollard. Again, I don't think he's a holdout, but I
think he got. No,
he got tagged.
I think he signed a 1-year deal.
No, he got tagged.
They're not going to pay him.
Well, you can't.
No. Yeah, no. It's a contract year for Pollard as he's playing 2023 under a 1-year, $10.1 million franchise tag. Oh, that's what you said. Yeah, he did get tagged. No complaints about getting tagged from him.
I mean, he's making $10 million bucks is nothing. I mean, it's not nothing.
Back,
you know,
that's really good, especially one that's like on the cusp of making himself a name, but he isn't right now. Like Tony Pollard, like he's good. Don't get me wrong, but he's not. Like you mentioned, Saquon.
He's in that upper echelon of
Josh
players.
Jacobs, McCaffrey.
Yeah,
he's getting paid almost like those guys.
Well, let me spin this a slightly different way with him. If he wasn't on the Cowboys and he was on a different team where he was the RB1 workhorse, getting most of the carries, doing the same things he's doing for that offense, but he's not on Dallas because Dallas had the whole Zeke thing, and that it would be a bad look if they did this again. Would that change anything for you, or are you just like, nah?
Running backs, like, I feel like the most I would want to do as a running back right now, especially like those guys, would be like 2 years, 24. And that's, Jacobs, Barkley, Eckler, Henry, McCaffrey.
He's like right at that cutoff point, though.
Yeah, with him, I'd probably lean a little bit more towards 2 for 20, 3 for 30 even, if you would want to do that. And maybe with running back contracts, make it easier on them. Just guarantee the whole fucking thing.
I know, it's really about the length of it, and they want that like security, but like they're in the position group that is by far the most prone to having short careers, injuries, kind of thing short. They're getting hit so much. They're doing so much like workload wise. It doesn't make sense to pay them for 5-6 years.
No.
So the market for them is totally out of whack right now.
Jack up your price and just go 2 years and then make your nut and get out.
Add us to the Zoom call.
Yeah. Like, hey guys, I don't know if you know this, but you can get a lot of money for not a lot of years.
Hey,
both teams.
Hey, Gridiron Zeros podcast here on the Zoom call. We've never made over $1 million in our lives, but here's how you should do it.
Let us come to the meeting and pitch them on this idea that we have.
All right, well, let's go to another controversial contract year that I don't feel like is being talked about as much, but it is looming. Tua. With Tua, we've had most of a year sample size with Mike McDaniel last year. Obviously, the concussions are a big problem, but when he was playing, he played pretty well, and he had some weeks where he was playing out of his gourd. He was playing really well. So he's in that same class as Herbert and Burrow. So he's right there. He's sandwiched in the middle as far as the top 5 draft picks. Miami's in contention for sure. They proved last year that they can definitely make it work with him when he's healthy. But are you feeling confident paying him a deal before? Well, first off, would you want to keep him around and pay him? Second off, would you want to pay him before the season starts, let the season play out, or are you just letting him walk? This is a really tough one.
Do you think that if you paid him now, you would have to pay him like Herbert and Hurts?
No, because he hasn't done the same amount as them, so it's tricky. And maybe in his interest, it's better for him to wait another year or two, because if he goes out and has a good year, he might get that money. I think right now he's probably looking at more of a Daniel Jones.
Probably a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be like so many injury clauses and like things like that in the deal where they can definitely recoup any loss on that, because he is a risk at this point. Like right now, recording this, he's definitely an injury risk.
Yeah.
I mean, there was talks at the beginning of the offseason, like, should he retire?
Right.
And he's only 25. I mean, he's still got a lot of time left to play.
I guess you roll the dice on this year. It's really a win-win for Miami. Either he plays really well and then you pay him, and you hope that he continues to play really well. And, yeah, you maybe cheap out on the guaranteed money and put some injury clauses there, because, I mean, he is a walking concussion at this point.
Oh, come on.
But if he doesn't have a good year, he gets injured again, and they have another down year. I mean, sorry, but you can't take a chance in giving you a long ass huge contract.
Well, they're kind of
somebody that's getting injured all the time.
Well, maybe they're kind of in a spot right now where they could, like, I don't know, they could work it out to where they get themselves a good deal. Like the Dolphins I'm talking about. Like if they signed him tomorrow, it would not be a break the bank Justin Herbert contract or Josh Allen contract. It would be more reasonable. You could bake in a lot of the injury clause stuff, and a couple years if things work out, it's a really good deal. Maybe it's only for 3 years or whatever, but like it's a really good deal in that sense. But it is a dice roll, so.
My God, these fucking contracts are so ridiculous. So franchise tag, if I'm not mistaken, is top 5 average. Right?
Yeah, I believe so.
God, that's $100 million for 2 years. I was gonna say like 2 years, $80 million deal maybe.
Oh, no, I think it's top 10. It's top 10.
It's top 10. My God, that is just ludicrous how much money quarterbacks are making now. $52.5 million in a year. God, I'm sorry. You could make a run for it and try to get him, sign him now.
I think I'm going to pass on paying him now.
Go yourself.
I think there's just too many red flags and question marks, and if this year goes south, they're going to have to figure something else out. So I don't really want a big financial investment in it, but there's a way I could see it working. I just don't. I don't think I would if I was the GM.
Yeah, because I feel like there's some risk, but maybe not as much reward as you would think. Because even if he plays well, he's going to demand that long-term contract with that $50 million a year money, right?
Yeah. Because that's the market.
He's going to say, like, give me an extension. I want to start making some real money over here. Yeah. Anybody else?
Well, what's your definitive yes or no?
I'll wait it out a year.
Go yourself.
All right. We'll do lightning round with these. These should all be pretty quick. Nick Bosa, 49ers. You were talking about Brian Burns being the top earning and like edge rusher in the league. I think Bosa will definitely be the number one.
Like $32 million a year.
Yeah, he'll be making the most, and if not the most, right there, and he's worth every penny. So he is a holdout right now, and that is a huge piece missing. And I was kind of listening to some 49ers, sound bites from Shanahan and John Lynch about him not being in there, and they're not like pulling their hair out or cheesed or anything. Yeah, they understand it's part of just the business of this, and like he's in that window right now. So I think he will get paid. I think it'll happen any day now. As we're recording, I already had a couple guys that I had written down that got paid, like Trayvon Diggs and all that shit. So next guy, kind of the same vein, top tier defensive player, especially for their team, Chris Jones, Chiefs.
God, how old is he now?
I think he's 29, hitting 30, so he's definitely probably in that spot where he's getting that last big contract payout.
He's 29.
And Mahomes' deal now is looking like a pretty team-friendly deal at this point, which is astonishing to say. But him and Kelsey are both making good money, but it's not like completely crippling their cap. So they could make this work, but I think he wants to be very high, highly paid. So I think that would definitely be a big dent for them, and he's a difference maker for them, no question. And like their defense would not be the same without him. But age is certainly a question. They obviously have won 2 Super Bowls with him on the roster. They definitely got their money's worth while he was on the team. I feel like the Chiefs are the kind of team that they like to look elsewhere, cheaper, draft, trades, like figure it out an alternative way. But is he a guy that they can do that with? Because defensive tackles of his caliber definitely aren't grown on trees.
So his current contract average salary is $20 million. The market value is a 32.2 average annual salary. That can't be right. The market value for Chris Jones? Fuck it out of here. That's crazy. 29. I mean, if you can hold on to him somehow, I would. I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, he is crucial parts of that defense. In a defense that I feel like you kind of keep seeing guys picked off one by one. Remember when Tyrann Mathieu was on that defense and he was a huge part of it? Frank Clark. So you kind of see guys getting picked off one by one. This is one that I feel like I would really hold on to.
I just feel like Chris Jones is part of that nucleus with Mahomes and Kelsey, where if you want to keep winning Super Bowls and your window is still very much open, like he should definitely be a part of that, even if he's a little bit older at this point and probably going to be a little more expensive than you'd like. I think he's important enough to keep him around.
I mean, shit. Buffalo is paying Josh Allen whatever they're paying Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs whatever they're paying Stephon Diggs, and then they gave a 33-year-old Von Miller like $250 million for 6 years.
Right.
You know, they can certainly hold on to a 29-year-old Chris Jones at defensive tackle, which is arguably a more important position. But yeah, I would if you can find a way, I would pay him, and I would pay him maybe not top dollar, but like even what Quinnen Williams just got. Maybe not that length, maybe not that amount, but somewhere near that, I suppose.
For like a 3-year deal, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I think that would be fair.
All right, well, that's everybody I got for pay or pass.
Good list. Good list of players, though. All right, let's. I got a good take for you in this next segment. Let's talk about these new alternate helmets and jerseys that are coming out. Okay, Al. If you wouldn't mind, I know you've also proposed this segment for this week, which I appreciate. But I have a take here, and I just want to comment on what I think are probably the two biggest misses, in my opinion, for all these new alternates, jerseys, helmets, etc., etc.
Throwbacks.
In my eyes, the Denver alternate helmet and Cleveland alternate helmet are the two biggest misses. Here's why. Do something other than a white fucking helmet at this point.
You know what? I think I like them more than all of the black helmet variations from last year, though, because those were boring as shit. I think those were way more boring. The
one does look really ugly.
It's whack.
That's why I like the Lions one so much. And the Jets. Like, throw in the color that is not black or white on your team into the helmet. For Denver, throw that orange on the helmet and, like, inverse it or something.
Only team I'm going to give a hall pass on, because I think I agree with you, but the only team I'm going to give a hall pass for that idea is Tampa, because they brought back the creamsicle.
Yeah,
that's part of the look. Yeah. So you need to bring that back. I think the Oilers too is also
that's a part of the look. Although actually,
I think a baby blue at one point, but
their helmets are usually dark blue, so I guess they can have a pass too. But Denver,
I kind of agree. I think they're the more boring of the new ones.
Seattle, can we transition into Seattle?
Sure.
Grand slam, not just a home run. That's a grand slam.
Yeah, I think the response to that one has been so positive that people are like, please just make these the regular uniforms at this point, because
so good.
They look great. They look really good. I think the blue face mask looks really cool. I love
solid.
I do love just like the subtleness of the green. It's not like it's usually obnoxiously in all their stuff, but like it's a little more subdued in this one. I like it a lot. It's a totally different look from the stuff they've been wearing the last couple of years, and it's obviously a throwback to their more original look. But yeah, I would say of all the throwback designs, it's probably my favorite too. I think it's great.
Yeah, creamsicle's at a close second, but man, oh man, those are sharp uniforms. I don't know why, but the nostalgia for some of these is just really kicking up. I'll tell you, let's flip-flop back to another bad one, huh?
Well, bad in your opinion, but go on.
In my opinion. Arizona.
They're just whole like rebrand on the whole, like, because that's their new look. Like that's what they'll be wearing all the time now.
Yeah, I really hate the Arizona that runs across the numbers.
I feel like so many teams have tried to do that shit, and it looks terrible every time that they do it.
It really does look like I'm watching the Arizona Wildcats play football when I see that.
I think people are liking the black jersey and that mix the most, but I think they're all just kind of whatever. I don't like strongly dislike or like them. I think they're pretty whatever.
the black really, I mean, like, I don't know. I get really strong Ohio State vibes from that black jersey.
I could see that.
I don't know why. Because Ohio State doesn't wear black jerseys, do they? Well, that's cool, Al. I didn't know that you were going to be able to see these creamsicles live in action.
Yes,
the
sir.
Only time that you get to see the creamsicles live in action.
It's very exciting. I'm very excited about that. Again,
You
reminder
pick up
for
a
the
bigger
listeners,
jersey?
I will be in Tampa for the Lions-Bucks game. I think it's week 6, I believe. But yeah, going to see the creamsicles in action. So no, I will not be picking up a Baker Mayfield jersey because he'll probably be benched by then. So
Yeah, probably.
Can I pivot
Yeah.
to probably my favorite one outside of the Seahawks?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't believe I'm saying it because I'm already kind of sick of hearing about them. But I really like the Jets.
Yeah.
I really like their look. It's I don't know. It's really clean. It's really simple. It's old school. For some reason, the green helmet, like the all green helmet, they switched back to that like 2-3 years ago. And it in the new uniforms, it doesn't really work for me. But for some reason, maybe it's just because there's so much white everywhere else in this uniform and there's no black. Like they really just pop and they really work for me here. I like the old logo too with the little like jet plane like little mark in there. I think that looks really slick. I don't know. I think they kind of look like a Packers uniforms a little bit too, which is funny seeing Rodgers wear it. But
they do.
I'm a big fan of these. I would say after Seattle, they're probably my favorite.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't have enough pop, doesn't have enough flair. I really do like the helmet, like you mentioned. That's another really classic look. But in terms of the jerseys themselves, I don't know. Just not a whole lot going on for me.
Speaking of a whole lot not going on, and I don't like strongly dislike this uniform, but
Cleveland.
Vikings.
Oh, Vikings. Yeah, I feel like I've seen them 100 times already. Maybe that's due to Madden.
There's just not really anything new that they're doing with them. They're obviously a throwback to a look that they've had for a long time. So
A long time.
Not really doing a whole lot for me. It looks clean. It looks good. The gray face mask is kind of fun, but kind of boring. I don't know. Nothing very exciting there.
Gray face mask.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I don't know if I like that.
That was on their helmets for a long time.
Yuck.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Houston Oilers. They're making a little bit of a comeback.
Are they playing the Texans when they wear them? Because that'd be hilarious. Are they?
Yep.
That's too funny.
That's the one time they'll wear it this year.
That's too funny. Poor fans are probably so pissed
Oh,
off.
I'm sorry. Speculation that they could be worn against Houston. So not confirmed, but
Well, the Titans will be losing to the Texans in style, at least.
I don't know if I'd go that far yet, but yeah, Houston, Cleveland. I feel like there was one other one that we haven't talked about yet.
I mean, there are a couple that we haven't touched on. Like there's the Patriots one, which is the classic throwback with like the red jerseys and the like full like Patriot dude on it. There's the Eagles one we haven't really talked about. I don't know. I kind of just wanted to have a casual conversation about which ones we liked and which ones we thought were dookie. So
I really like the Colts.
I hate it. I think that's probably my least favorite.
I really like the jersey, but I will agree that the black helmet is kind of hideous.
Like Midnight Indy or something, or Midnight something or other. I forgot what it is.
Indiana Knights.
Some racing thing. I'm pretty sure it's like a throwback to some racing thing. I don't know.
For some reason, like I know that I said the Jets jerseys weren't really doing much for me, but for some reason these Colts ones kind of do. I feel like they got like a little bit of a texture in the jersey that looks kind of cool. But yeah, those helmets really just throw everything off.
I will say too, because the Lions are one of the teams that have an alternate helmet. Seeing these really makes me wish they just fully committed and just did a full throwback uniform set. I don't know why they just did the helmet. Like some teams are doing that, but why? Yeah, as I said a few shows ago, I can't stand those gray jerseys. So having them paired with the helmet is fine because I don't know what else you would do besides go all white, which might look better. But I just wish they had a full set because seeing some of these are really cool. And I know that rumor has it on the brink of new uniforms next year, so maybe they just didn't want to put something out before then. But I think it just would have looked really cool if they had a full set, and it kind of makes me not as juiced about them compared to some of the other throwbacks. I think the other ones are a little bit more to be excited about, but a lot of those teams kind of have a look figured out that they'll be rocking for a while, and they'll probably go these throwbacks every now and then. I think this is the first year where they're allowing throwbacks again, too, in quite some time, because they had the helmet thing like last year, it was last year, and then they expanded it to be full alternates this year, which is exciting.
Well, hopefully, I don't know. Would you want like full-time uniforms to be 90s throwback uniforms next year?
I mean, for the Lions or for who?
The Lions.
No, I mean, I think they're going to come up with something new, but I would not mind an homage to that look in the new look, I guess. I wouldn't want that helmet with full-time helmet. I like it, but I just don't think it's really like, it doesn't resemble a lot of the other Lions helmets with like just the silver and like the stripe down the middle. It's missing that stuff and it doesn't work.
I want that really poorly detailed lion to make a comeback too.
No.
That thing was badass. You couldn't even tell what it was.
I know.
For the most part.
If they ever brought that back, I would be stunned. Like outside of a throwback look, I would be stunned.
Such a bad logo.
You know what team needed a different look in here? And I know they just got new jerseys last year, but they're so fucking ugly. The Commanders, they really needed something different. Like they really should have had a cool throwback.
Well, I mean, they can't do throwbacks.
Dude, they totally can. They can just not have the Redskins logo on and just put the W on it instead.
No, their whole history is just it's I feel like right now at least you can't really touch it.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we got on this, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about the Lions. Let's cut to the chase.
Let's go Lions!
All right, talking Lions training camp now. We had a big scare coming out of the camp. I would say probably the headline of the camp so far was it Monday that this happened? CJ Gardner-Johnson went down on the field with an apparent non-contact knee injury and had to get carted off. And everybody was losing their minds. Rightfully so.
That would have been a disastrous start. But apparently it was not a huge issue. And he was running damn near full sprints today at practice. So they're probably going to limit him, though, for a little bit. I mean, I would hope that they will. I know you got to get your guys full ready to go. But I just, after something like that, I'd be like, all right, let's not play him as much in the preseason. Let's just slow it all down a little bit.
I feel like they've been doing it a lot, at least in Campbell's era, where I swear, I feel like the starters, Goff at least, gets one drive, and then he's done for the year.
I mean, it was kind of that way with Stafford, too, a little bit.
What?
Yeah, he wouldn't get a whole lot of time in the preseason. You kind of just know what you're getting, so.
Well, so we had that scare. Jameson Williams also apparently has a minor little leg injury, so he'll be taking it easy throughout training camp.
Missing more time. What else is new?
Well, that's not a big deal.
Listeners,
the first 6 games.
Listeners, you need to know I'm drawing a line in the sand in this episode. I'm out on Jameson Williams. I'm out. We had a big text thread off podcast.
We got into it a little bit.
Well, some of us were just making a note that he's missed a lot of time and maybe start floating the B word out there. B word being bust. And then some others
not to be confused with bitch.
Really got after me. Started accusing me of slander, and I'm just like, fuck it. I'm out on him. If that's how it's going to be, I'm out on him.
The comment was not only half kidding, but also half serious. And he's been really hard on him ever since that little stupid-ass gambling rule came out of the fucking woodworks, which was the stupidest fucking rule I ever heard in my life. But, nevertheless, he'll miss a couple days in training camp. Not a big deal. He's already missing the first 6 fucking games. But he'll come back and he'll do exactly what he did last year, except even longer this time. He'll make a big impact on the team. Well, speaking of the wide receivers, I think it's also important to note that Denzel Mims is a new addition to the team. The New York Jets wide receiver was traded to us. I can't even remember. It was like a low draft pick, right?
No, he was like a second-round pick.
No. What did we give up?
Oh, I think we gave up a 5th or a 6th. That was nothing super major.
Super high. So
taking a flyer on him, I guess, and it's probably a situation in New York where the receiver room is so crowded that they felt like they could just be fine without him. So
it'll be interesting to see kind of where he is lining up. I can't imagine that it'll be the slot, but it also seems like Amon has been working on his deep threat abilities a little bit this offseason. So maybe we'll see Amon lining up on the outside a little bit more. And Mims, who is a very fast wide receiver, could also get some slot reps. But with him, Marvin, we still have Josh Reynolds to this day, which is, I don't know, a little shocking.
He's just got good chemistry with Goff. I think as long as Goff is here, I think he'll be here, to be honest.
We still have Khalif. Unfortunately, Tom Kennedy got waived today, but I'm sure he'll be back on the practice squad.
You know, we really, in that first segment we did today where we talked about guys that we want to pay or pass on, I really should have floated Amon-Ra St. Brown out there because he's going to need a new deal probably in the next year or so. I think you get a little ahead of it doing it now, but I think he's definitely going to warrant a big contract, and I think he'll definitely get it.
I'm sure he'll sign him. Important to note on Amon, but I guess they were doing some red zone reps the other day, and he caught 6 touchdowns in 10 plays.
Yeah!
It'll be interesting to see how Ben Johnson kind of, I don't know, he could tweak the red zone offense because last year I swear it was gut punches with Jamal and then play action to Wright or Zylstra, and props to them, it worked damn near every time. But you know, we have the replacement for Williams in Montgomery. We now have Laporta, who is turning heads and is apparently pretty damn good from what people are saying. But I will not be signing off on that take until I see it live in action.
I just like that we saw a look with them last year where the tight end wasn't like a huge focal point, have to get them the ball all the time like Hawkinson. Like it felt like they could just kind of make it work with whoever. So I think a guy like Laporta, like if he's just above average and does his job, I think he'll be just fine for the offense. So anything more than that would be great.
Worth a second round pick that, huh?
That's the question, right?
It'll be interesting. I don't see a whole lot about the secondary in these articles, but Mosley and Sutton, Branch, can't wait to be hearing more about them. One change to the offensive line, and I gotta say I love this change. Vaitai is getting the boot out of the offensive starting lineup, is being replaced with former Detroit Lion, but now also Detroit Lion, Graham Glasgow. And I think that is just going to make our offensive line all the more better. All the more better. So very excited to see that. Other than that, Al, is there anything else?
Training camp wise, not that I can think of, but there is one other Lions note I feel like we should at least just point out. The NFL Top 100 is going on right now, and we've already had 3 Lions on it, so that's pretty exciting.
Hutch, Goff, Amon.
Yep, we had Hutch at 88, and then I think Goff and Amon-Ra were 68, 67. I was surprised to see Goff be ranked above Trevor Lawrence, but then when they put Justin Fields above Trevor Lawrence, I was like, all right, this thing's a crap show.
Also above Lamar. Lamar, what was Goff?
87.
Oh, maybe he wasn't then.
I'm sorry, 67.
Okay, that's a different. That changes things. So they did have him higher than Lamar Jackson. I also want to know. I know that friend of the show and reoccurring guest Judd mentioned that He does not count Jamal Williams. I do. He's on the list from last season.
Well, they tag him as
A Saint. Player,
yeah.
But it's kind of silly considering that the season that they're talking about was his season with the Lions. So I count Jamal Williams.
I think the only other guy on the Lions that we'll probably see on this list is Penny. I don't really know who else there would really be as far as the top 100 in the whole league. Like,
yeah, if James Houston didn't make the list, or if Hutch was what, 88?
88.
Then
verdict's still out on Houston. I think people are kind of thinking maybe flash in the pan. Who knows? He looked pretty dominant when he was playing, but I think just to put the whole league on notice, I think you kind of need a little bit more consistency, like as far as the entire season goes. And I think that's kind of why he's not there quite yet. But I bet you he was like kind of borderline, maybe 100, maybe like 110s, 120s.
One other thing to note with training camp before we sign off on this segment, our interior defensive line, a couple names are showing up here. Ali McNeil has shredded down 22 pounds. Is apparently a lot more agile and fit, which will be really interesting. I feel like he's almost taken a Aaron Donald approach to the position.
Well, I kind of thought part of his game was that he was as big as he was.
Exactly. Broderick Martin is also now taking reps with the second team, and he might also be getting some work in with the starters. That guy is massive, and he might be taking over that role as the plug that Ali McNeil was trying to do. So it will be really interesting. Jack Campbell's looking real good. Been seeing a lot of him. Derek Barnes is also apparently making some plays.
Who?
Exactly. We forgot about him, right?
Second biggest bust in the team. No kidding.
So we'll have to see. A lot of stuff going on though. A lot of guys making some noise. Malafanu in the safety position. Will Harris apparently in a hybrid defensive back is making some plays. It'll be interesting to see some more, and I can't wait to see us kind of start to put together some starting lineups. But that's pretty much it for the line segment. Not a whole lot of news. Denzel Mims, obviously the huge news. CJ's minor injury, thank God. Definitely another big storyline to keep an eye on. But all right, let's go ahead and let's close the show out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us. Thank you again for listening to Gridiron Zeros podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, all that good jazz at Gridiron Zeros.
The summer is dwindling down.
Not too many more Sundays without football. We definitely have the preseason coming up here very quickly. Speaking of which, I do have not a preseason lock of the week, but a future lock of the week for you guys. Tell me if you like this, Al.
Okay. Our last couple have been not great.
Not great. I will also say that my last lock of the week, Djokovic to win Wimbledon, did not hit after he blew a huge lead in the finals.
Well, if it's any consolation, your other lock did hit.
Which was
my over on beers drank on my vacation definitely hit over 40. So
that's fantastic.
Not for my liver.
Not for your liver, but good for morale. The Lions went 5-1 in divisional games last year. The only one that we lost was in Minnesota, and what was that, week 2, week 3, some very early on. Maybe
week 4. It was early. That was the first quarter of the season.
It was a very close game that the defense ended up blowing. The Lions, to win all 6 divisional games this year, is plus 1,500 on DraftKings right now. I don't see the Bears beating us. I don't see the Packers beating us. The Vikings would be the one to worry about. But plus 1,500, you slap $50 on that, you're taking home 800.
Not terrible odds for sure. I just don't believe in them to do a sweep.
I do, 100%.
I think the Packers are being a little too slept on.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Ugh. Well, be sure to tune in next week. We're going to get rolling. Preseason's coming up very quickly here. We'll be jumping into record predictions for all the teams and our Super Bowl predictions as well in these upcoming weeks.
I'm sure those will age like fine wine.
We weren't too far off last year, if I remember correctly. But all right. We'll catch you on the next one, ladies and gentlemen.
Later.